And we are live in a living color from Scimitar Studios in Denville, New Jersey. You're listening live to the Open Mic program right here on Blog Talk Radio, the Sports Talk Nation, and also a little later on when this show gets uploaded onto YouTube, the Sports Talks Nation on there as well. Folks, welcome aboard as we are at the end, the conclusion of the spring training tour here for 2017, and it has been a successful tour that we started back in late February, and now here we are on March the 31st. We rip the calendars to April in just a few hours, and about 48 hours from tomorrow, or well, really 48 hours from right now, actually, baseball will start officially. Regular season baseball will start officially with a triple header on Sunday. You have the Yankees taking on the Rays. You have, I believe it's the Giants and the Diamondbacks at 4 o'clock, and then the defending champions, the Cubs, take on the Cardinals. Ironically, though, on the road. You would think you would want to have the world champion at home to mimic the NFL, what they do. But no, we're going to have the Cubs open up on the road against their division rival. But that's just the way it is. But either way, opening day is indeed here. And to finish off our spring training tour, we're going to talk about the New York Yankees. And the Yankees come into the season with a very intriguing situation, because this is a team that I think has a chance to make some noise in this division. Now, I know Boston's the favorite in the division, and rightfully so. They have, maybe on paper, the best team in the division. But the Yankees have a lot of young players coming up through the system, and they're getting better. And they have a lot of young players that are now going to contribute to this Major League team. So it makes them a team that may push a little bit this year, may even push for a wild card this year. But down the road, 2018, 2019, will be a major threat for quite a while in the American League. Joining us today to talk about the Yankees over this next hour or so programming here on the Open Mic program, guest that we have had on many times to talk about the Bronx Bombers, and that is Karen Vankat. Karen, how are you?
Okay, Michael, how you doing?
Doing great. Glad to have you back on.
Yeah, it's great to be on. It's very exciting to be a Yankee fan right now, actually.
You know, isn't it funny? Because think about this. How many times have we sat here, you know, whether it be at the CSB studios or doing this over the phone lines as we do now with Blog Talk Radio, and whenever we talked about the Yankees, it was always, you know, that when are they going to bring up the young kids? When are they going to bring up the young kids? Enough with the veteran players that are getting old and you're paying millions and millions of dollars to do. And now finally, it's 2017 and they're finally bringing up the young kids.
And it's about time. How long have I been saying it? Have I been saying this for like years? And then every time, instead of giving a kid a chance, they go get some free agent who's 35 or plus, on his way out. Oh, well, you know, he's got a track record. You know, and somebody said it today on one of these shows I was watching, that a lot of these older players, you're getting paid for what's on the back of your baseball card already. You're not getting paid for what we want to see. So you're paying on what they did, and you're not paying these veterans and stuff on what it's going to be, which is only going to get worse. And we've seen it. Has there been any big contract that has gone to the end of its 10 years when someone's hitting 40 or whatever and panned out? No. Have we seen it? I don't think so.
No, I can't think of many. I mean, there are probably a few here and there that they've let the player play out the entire contract, but it's few and far. It has to be one of these legendary players for that to happen. It just doesn't happen anymore.
And if you get a kid who's showing really potential and doing well, say like what Bryce Harper originally, when he came up and he was in lights out, blah, 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 that's the 23-year-old you give a 10-year contract to. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's not everybody, but Trout, or there's certain ones higher echelon. If Sanchez has a 300-plus year and has an awesome year, he is somebody you'd want to wrap up for a while now in his prime, not when he's hitting 35, you know what I mean, and not down the line. They have to prove it. Not everybody's going to get a contract like that, but you can see who's got potential to be a blockbuster superstar player. That's the kind of people you lock up.
Oh yeah,
early on.
I mean, look at the team across town and the Mets. I mean, they're going to be in a situation after this year where they're going to have to start making decisions on who they want to lock up, especially of those three pitchers Now, if you ask me right now, I would imagine that Syndergaard and DeGrom are going to be the two guys going to want to lock up. I think Harvey's on his way out of town come 2018, 2019 when his contract comes up. But that's what happens with these teams when you have these young kids come up. They show so much potential. They play well, pitch well, and become stars. The day's going to come at some point when the arbitration years come. You're going to start paying these guys their money.
Exactly. And so if you've got, I know you can't predict everything, but there's certain players that have come up recently in the last so many years, like I mentioned Harper, Trout. You lock them up. That's the kind of people you lock up. And the Yankees have potential here with a lot of players right now. Definitely Sanchez is a big one. And Bird has had the most fantastic spring. Remember, they were worried about him. He came off the injury. He got the surgery. He went to the Arizona Fall League. He was so-so. That's why they signed that Carter, all right, thinking, if he doesn't come around. He was the best player, really, in spring training.
He was. Now let's start off with Rick Bird because he did hit 429 spring training. As you mentioned, he made the best spring training of anybody down there. Had 7 home runs, 13 RBIs. This guy's got tremendous pop in his bat. That's obvious. What the potential, what this guy can bring to Yankee Stadium with that short porch in right field, with really the short porch you have in Boston and also in Baltimore when they're on the road. This guy has potential to put up 3,100 power. I'm going to even say even this year if he stays healthy the entire season. That's how dangerous this guy is.
Absolutely. And one thing I noticed when I saw him, I was able to see the Yankees. I was just got back from Florida yesterday, and he hits to all fields. All right, he's not just going to be your dead pull short porch guy. He gets doubles into the gap on both gaps. He's on the ball. He doesn't strike out much. He's just, he's been really, really, he's shown a lot. He's got a beautiful swing. When you see the guy, in person. Absolute beautiful swing. But he doesn't strike out a lot. I'm pulling up his stats here. How many times he struck out. All right, he struck out 10 times in 50 at-bats. But he had 12 base on balls, too. And 13 ribbies. He got 21 hits. He batted .429. And his glove, that's underrated right now. Everybody, we talked about Teixeira that, that's where you would miss Teixeira is not hitting because of how bad he was the last couple of years, but in the field, he was like gold. But Bird I saw he made a great pick in the game that I saw him in. He looks good. He can only get better. But he looks really comfortable at first base and, really polished. And maybe being behind Teixeira or seeing that for a couple of years as a Yankee, maybe he picked up on some things. But he's not a butcher at first base at all. So he's the complete package. And, Sanchez is a complete package. Judge, he cut down on his strikeouts so far this spring. If he could do that, he threw out. When I was at the game I was at, he threw somebody out. So he's another one. Got the arm, got the power. If he cuts down on his strikeouts, he got a bunch of walks this year so far in spring training. You've got a bunch of good ball players here.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You have here, we have, as you just said, Sanchez there. You have Bird. You have Judge. And I want to talk about those two guys in just a moment in a little more detail. But, you also have a kid coming up in shortstop. Now, the Yankee shortstop situation is going to be very interesting. And I want to jump to this. With D.D. Gregorius, say that 10 times fast, D.D. Gregorius out for a month after he got injured in a WBC, they're going to go with Torres right now at shortstop for the interim. But this isn't necessarily about Torres. This is about Torres and what he is going to bring to this team at some point. Here's a guy who is right now ranked as the number one prospect of the top 30 prospects for the Yankees by MajorLeagueBaseball.com. You've seen this guy, and you tell me what you think about him. But first of all, think about this, Karen. If all this works out for the Yankees, let's say Torres comes up at some point later on this year. You have Judge, you have Bird, you have Sanchez. All of a sudden, the Yankees have the new core four.
No, God!
Oh, that's Red Sox fans.
No, God, please, no! 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 No!
That must be Boston and Toronto fans right there. I'm
That's
sorry.
Boston.
Oh man, but seriously,
really
about Torres and about this, and even Torres, you saw both of those guys. What do you think about that situation?
Well, Torres, it's going to be Torres and Cosma or whatever is going to be on the roster, and they picked him over. There was another kid, Tyler Wade. Tyler Wade is another hidden gem in all of this. If you saw any of these kids, and I saw them all, I saw Frazier, I saw McKinney, who's been unbelievable. I saw, Cosmo is coming over from the Cubs. So he's established. He's an excellent defensive ball player. And he proved that. He actually hit. When I saw him, he got a couple of hits. So he's going to back up Torres or whatever right now at shortstop, just till Didi gets back. As far as Torres is concerned, he just turned 20. He was 19 as spring training started, just turned 20. He is more than the real deal. Everybody talks about him. They say his presence. He acts like he's been there for 20 years. Not cocky, just they gave an example of something when he went up to get a hit, and they were asking him a question about it, and he was talking about the pitches and, what he was looking for and blah, blah, blah. And he sounded like a veteran, they said. And he's so polished for such a young kid, and he's so talented. Cashman said it on an interview not too long out. He said he's going to force us to bring him up. He goes, we will see him before the summer. He already said it. He goes, if he continues, they put him to single A. I don't know why they at least put him to Trenton. They want to see how he plays in cold weather, too. They better put him in Trenton at some point. Besides then going to Scranton. But he said, we will see him. He's forcing our hand. He goes, sometimes a prospect will do that. And right now, the kid is forcing their hand. Everybody wanted him up. Why don't you throw him out there for Didi for the month and a half? What's the worst thing? He's not ready. You send him back, and Didi's back. I mean, you got Torres or somebody else, right?
Yeah.
They don't want to do that. And this is what's with the Yankee organization that drives me crazy. I understand Cashman explained about him. He said if he was already into AA or AAA, yes, he would be up here. He's only in single A. He's just starting single A. And they want him to see, I guess, better pitching. But he was in the Fall League. He ripped up the Arizona Fall League. Do you know who goes to the Arizona Fall League? Top prospects
Tim Tebow.
only go there. Tim Tebow. The top prospects go there. So he did see good pitching in the Fall League. And he has seen some pitching in spring training. So he doesn't strike out a lot. They said he recognizes pitchers right away. I saw him defensively. He's a whiz out there. But this is what they're doing with him. You can't. I guess you criticize, but you can't. But Cashman said it. He goes, he'll be up in the majors. He'll force his hand by the summer, and I hope the kid does it.
I think the situation they have right now, as far as at shortstop, I think with Torres, the guy they're going to have up there right now playing in Didi's place, I think the only reason he's up there is because they've already seen him in the major leagues. I mean, he has 155 at bats. He's played 72 games right in the major leagues, so they're saying, okay, let's just give this guy a chance. But he's not the future of this team, and I guess they just want to protect Torres. They want to make sure that he's good to go. He sees some live pitching. He doesn't get disappointed with himself. Let's say if he comes up right away, start the season, I don't know, struggles, hits 150 to start the year, gets down on himself. They're probably trying to avoid that right now more than anything else. I agree. I think they're going to bring it up at some point by the summer.
Yeah, they were kind of saying that. But the way he is, somebody said it, who they were interviewing said, even if he wasn't batting that well, they don't think he'd get down on himself. This is the kind of kid he is. His personality and everything. I think, all right, they got him in single A. I don't think he's going to be there long. I think he'll be in Trenton soon, which is a AA club. So I think he's going to start there. They keep talking about this cold weather stuff. They want to see him in cold weather. Well, get him in Trenton now. just put him in Trenton. But they're not. They're putting him, I don't know, they're putting him in Tampa, the single A place. Then they'll bring him up to Trenton. And if he is lights out, do you go to Scranton or do you bring him up from Trenton? Depends what's going on up top, too, in the majors. Yeah. But it would be great if he can do that. Let's be devil's advocate. Let's say he busts through and they bring him up and he is the real deal and you could package Didi with somebody else and get a starting pitcher. How about that? If this
you
kid
could
ends
do
up
that.
being if he ends up being the real deal, you could do something like that. And or get rid of. I want Headley out of there, but I guess it's not going to happen.
Well, I was gonna say, because I think Didi with his injury, maybe I'll get teams to shy away just a little bit, and it would take a while to maybe package something for him. He would have to go on a real tear in June, July for that to happen. I was going to say maybe Headley would be the guy that I would want to move out of here.
Well, that's
and you can move
Didi
over to third. Because
but I don't know if anybody's going to take Headley. This is the problem, Well,
the problem with Headley is that he's just too inconsistent. And like you just said, he's just too inconsistent. The guy hit, 150 to start the year last year, ended up hitting 253. Yeah. He's never been more than a 250 hitter. I mean, if you can find a team, even if you ended up having to trade him inside the American League, if you find a team that is deep enough in its positions, needs a bat, just to have a bat to come off the bench, maybe that will take a guy like Chase Headley off your hands, and you can get some bullpen help. Which is it. Look, you'll take any pitching you can get, obviously.
Right.
That wouldn't be a bad idea. I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I think we're both sharing a brain here. I don't know if you're going to get a starting pitcher with him. Didi, maybe. It's tough. Now, here's another thing. If we're talking about trades. What about Gardner and Ellsbury? Now, I know I'm kind of jumping into the outfield right here, but, everyone's been talking about all offseason and into the spring training about Gardner and Ellsbury, and that one of those two guys could end up being a trade piece at some point down the road. And I've even heard a lot of people want Gardner, too. So maybe that's a player you end up dealing, or two players you end up dealing at some point down the road.
Because of Ellsbury, he got 4 years left on that contract. That was one of the worst contracts they did, another one. Gardner, this is it. Contract's up this year. I thought about Gardner and Headley before we even got into, while we were in spring training. I kept saying that. Gardner, Headley, and throwing a kid, a decent prospect. Not one of your tops, but maybe the second tier guy and get somebody. And because Ellsbury, I don't think you can move that contract. Gardner, you can. And I'll tell you something, there's a lot of kids in waiting. Frazier looks good. And this kid, McKinney, I think they got him from Cleveland. I'm not exactly sure, but he batted .400, all right? He was in 20 games, 25 at bat. He got 10 hits, 3 home runs, 7 ribbies, and he was batting .400. He was awesome, plus in the field, making plays in the field. Because I was like, where did they get this McKinney from? And that was one of the kids, And I think they sent him to Scranton or Trenton. So he's even higher than Torres because he's maybe a year older or something. But they have outfielders, all right? That between McKinney, you got Frazier, and there's other people. Off the top of my head, I can't think. But Fowler. They got this kid Fowler down there. There's a Crawford. I mean, Fowler looks great. They've got a surplus. So that means you need to move one of these guys. If you can move both of them, it would be awesome. It's not going to happen, but if you can move one, and I think you can move Gardner.
And you also have Clint Frazier coming up through the system. He's one of their top prospects. He's getting Scranton Wilkes-Barre right now. Blake Rutherford, another young guy they have down there. I believe he was in rookie ball last year, so he's still a ways away. But they do have a couple of outfielders that are coming up through the pipe pretty quick. I mean, Frazier's now right there behind Torres.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I don't know. I just think Gardner you could package. I think Gardner's marketable more than Ellsbury is. And like I said, I was hoping to get rid of Headley. And like you said, put Didi, slide him over, put the kid at short. I mean, think about the age of the Yankees all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
How quickly we've gotten under 25 years of age.
Mm-hmm.
Bird, Judge, Sanchez. Castro is just 25. He's young. Didi's just 25 or 26. They're young, those two guys. You think they're older, but they're not. So, you know what I mean? Like, all of a sudden, things are starting to get younger very quick. And I guess the oldest guy on the team's going to be Holiday, but he's just your DH. So, but, I mean, all these other people, even the pitching, all right, CeCe's older. But Tanaka, I don't know if he's 30. Is he 30 now or 31?
I think he's 30, 31. He's on the. He's starting to get close to the back end of his. I mean, he's in the prime still of his career, but he's nearing the back stretch, the back nine, if you will. But this. I mean, you're absolutely right. This is a team that has gotten younger pretty quick. You got to give Brian Cashman some credit. They've been able to maneuver some contracts around. Obviously, Carlos Beltran, his contract last year, maneuvering Brian McCann out of here during the offseason, sending him over to Houston. With Teixeira obviously retiring, with A-Rod finally retiring, that has helped this team greatly, and especially with A-Rod retiring. Because I'll be honest with you, I know A-Rod's been a love him, hate him kind of player here at the Yankees throughout his tenure here. But he was an albatross on his team, especially in the salary cap. With
definitely.
him now out of town and out of the way, it just frees up this entire team. And I've been hearing even stories that this clubhouse has been looser as a result. And I think that has something to do with the fact that a lot of these older guys that have been holding back this team for a number of years are no longer there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And it was time to really, I mean, you're eating it, the $20 million, whatever. You had to. What, were you going to put him at DH again? But he wasn't even hitting? I mean, he's not even hitting. So it's just, the Yankees just had to finally clean house. And it took a while because those contracts were long and outrageous. And now we're finally seeing, like I said, these kids coming up. You've got some pitching, too, down there that's waiting to come up. Kathleen is one. That Jordan Montgomery is awesome, that lefty. He had a great spring.
The bench and the DH spots, the Yankees have some experience and some power here. Matt Holliday's addition, because it gives the Yankees that veteran presence they desperately needed in this clubhouse. He still has some pop in his bat at 37, but at this point in his career, he's mostly going to be a role player. Probably can't play the outfield as much as he used to. So I think he's a good addition to this team just from the veteran experience standpoint. And you mentioned Chris Carter earlier. I wouldn't look past this guy because he could be a valuable piece off the bench for some power. I know he's not a big-time average hitter, but you look at this guy, look at his body of work as far as the power is concerned. Man, he could be a heck of an option for Joe Girardi in a National League city if they're playing a National League team, or even coming off the bench in a pinch hitting spot, which is very rarely done in the American League, obviously. But still, I mean, he could be a big part of this too.
Well, he can come off the bench, but I'm going to tell you, if Bird, his thing was he's backing up Bird, I guess, at first. If Bird hits like he can hit and stays healthy, Carter's not going to see much time. I mean, you're going to spell Bird once in a while for maybe a day off, but I think overall, if the kid does what he's been doing, he's young, and if he's anything close to spring training, I'm not going to say he's going to hit 400, but he's definitely Bird's a 300 hitter. Absolutely. And if he does what he can do, and defensively, Carter's not going to see a lot of time over there. So that's the only thing. And you don't want Carter to see time if you're a Yankee fan. You want Bird there. If you want him progressing and like I said, becoming a 300 hitter, getting better even defensively, even though I think he's good defensively, getting even better at that. You want him there. You want to see him there all the time. So you don't want to even see this guy off the bench. As far as, helping out and, like you said, spelling once in a while and that kind of thing. I mean, because he's a right-handed hitter. And so is, what's his name? Is it, so is Holiday. So you got two right-handed hitters, you know, and Bird is the lefty. But, I mean, I know he got 40 home runs. To me, he hasn't looked great in spring training, what games I've seen. So as far as a Yankee fan and someone who knows baseball a long time, I mean, you know, you're paying $3.5 million. Like, they went and did that so quick. When I heard that, I was like, who is this guy? Oh, he hit 40 home runs from Milwaukee. Okay, it sounds good, but if he's striking out and he wasn't doing well in spring training, he better turn it around. Because even though it's $3.5 million, they would drop him at some point, I think, if he does not produce for them when they need him to. Can he come off the bench and do that? Some people can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard for them to come off if they're sitting there so long. It's a different mindset. A lot of players complain. We'll see. I mean,
that's also a problem for Aaron Hicks too, because remember, you know, he was planning to be the starting right fielder, and he's now going to be a bench player. I mean, even he's had his issues coming off the bench.
He did last year. He had issues till who got hurt, and then he ended up being Beltran got hurt, and then he got more playing time out there, and then he was doing a little better. But Judge won this spring training, absolutely. And they said it was a competition. Now they kept leaning. I think deep down inside Girardi, they wanted Hicks because they got Hicks last year, and you know, he's outed as this, and he had a bad season last year, and they thought maybe to turn it around. But if Judge is the real deal, you want him out there. Yeah, he's your homegrown guy. You know.
Yeah.
That's one.
Oh
that's one thing
I'm excited to see
fans.
this guy. I mean, this guy is huge. He's not just physically huge. He's 6'7", obviously.
I saw him in person. He's 6'7", 250, right? I was five rows behind the Yankee dugout. I was right there. And the way they were coming off, this was in the new Washington National Stadium in Palm Beach. They're coming off right by me, right down. That's where the opening was, to go down to the dugout. When I tell you he is huge, and then when he's waiting in the batters, in the on-deck circle, then he went to the batter's box compared to everybody else, the guy is bigger in person than on TV. I mean, he could be the Giants' next tight end or linebacker.
I was going to say
how big he is.
I was going to say, maybe come September, if the Yankees aren't in the playoffs, maybe he can play tight end, since the Giants just want to sign ex-Jet players and don't want to bother with what they actually need.
I know, exactly. I mean, really, he could play tight end easily. I mean, he's a big guy, and you should see them when they were running off the field, and everybody's waiting to go down into the tunnel, and he's like head and shoulders above everybody else. Mm-hmm. So the guy is big, but believe it or not, he's got one stolen base, and he's not slow. All right, he's not super fast. I'm going to tell you that. But he's not a slow poke out there, and he gets to a lot of balls, and he's got a great arm. I saw him throw somebody out. He's laser. So if that all happens, you know what he reminds me of? Do you remember Jesse Barfield? I'm going back. I'm going way back.
I don't.
With the arm he had. He was with Toronto. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then maybe you weren't even born. I don't know. But anyway, he was with Toronto, and the Yankees got him. And he had a laser arm. I mean, he could get anybody out at home, wherever. This kid got an arm. So it's above average. So we'll see. Because he's going to help you defensively, too, by throwing people out.
Wow.
So
I mean, that the guy that he reminds me of a little bit, and maybe this is because I'm
you're younger.
I don't know what it is, but I just see. Yeah, I guess it's a little bit younger, but he kind of reminds me a little bit of a very young David Justice. Remember when David Justice was in the in the early years of his career with the Indians, and he was just a kind of a big, tall, lanky dude, could mash and he was able to throw guys out. You're like, what position you guy in? DH, outfield. I mean, they really didn't have a spot for him in Cleveland. That's what he kind of reminds me of a little bit.
Yeah, because he ended up with the Yankees when they won one of the championships. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. His big thing is going to be pitching and cutting down the strikeouts, which he did this spring. He was seeing they were starting him. He started I don't know how many games. So he saw frontline pitching. It's not like he saw the scrub. So hopefully he made the turn. Maybe he made that adjustment.
Maybe.
And if he did, and he's not striking out as much, he's an asset.
He only struck out 13 times. You bring that up. He struck out 13 times in 61 at-bats. He had 6 walks, so that's 67 plate appearances. Doesn't look like he was hit by a pitch at all. So only 13 times he struck out. That's a pretty good ratio right there. I mean, his on-base percentage of 403. He hit 344. Compare that to where he was even last year. He only played in 10 games last year in spring training. And he had only a batting average of 0.53 and on-base of 143. Very small sampling. Now, I know it's spring training. You can't necessarily translate that into the regular season. But if you're right, if he is going to cut down on the strikeouts, and he is disciplining himself, this is going to be a scary ass hitter. I mean, this guy's going to be good.
I know, and look at how they've been doing the lineup. So he moved Sanchez into the 2-hole. He wants Sanchez batting second, Bird third. I believe Holiday is going to bat fourth. Now, behind Holiday, I think they were putting Ellsbury fifth. But if Judge does what he can do, you're going to move him up. He's going to be up in the order. And you can you imagine Sanchez, Bird, Holiday, Judge, those 4 in a row. That's what he should do. If Judge makes the adjustment and you see he's hitting well, he needs to bat fifth, not Ellsbury. I don't care. But you know what they do with Ellsbury? You do what you did with Gardner for years. Remember they used to bat Gardner ninth? And you'd have that turnover to Jeter. Jeter was batting first originally when Gardner first came up before Jeter moved back, I think, to the 2-hole. But you had that back. You could get that turnover. That's what I do with Ellsbury then. I know it sounds crazy, but I move him then down to 9. You have Gardner batting first, him 9, and that's what you can do if Judge does what he's supposed to do. If he comes through, my God, you have to put them together. You have to put those 4 in the middle of your lineup.
Yeah, and I guess you would then slip Castro down 6, 7. I mean, Castro's not really a 300 hitter anyway. He's more like a 270 hitter. I guess you could put him 6 or 7. Right.
With whoever, Headley, has proven that he's been crappy. He's got to turn it around. And then whoever is at short is going to be down there anyway at the bottom, too.
And wow. So so let's just go with this lineup. Let's say that he does exactly the lineup you said. Gardner leading off. You said Judge batting second, correct?
No, Sanchez second.
Oh, Sanchez batting second. Then
Bird third.
Holiday fly to break up the lefties. And then Judge. Right. That's scary.
Right?
That's murderer's row.
I mean, if everybody does what they're supposed to do, of course, that's, you got to put a caveat with everything, a but. But if they perform the way they know how, Sanchez and Bird look like the real deal. I know what we're looking at is still a small sample, but they did it last year. They're doing it in spring training, both of them. They're up there in the top batting, for spring training. So, like I said, maybe not. They're not about 400, but I think they're both 300 hitters. I really do. And Bird, he uses the whole field. That's why he's going to hit for average and power, because he goes to left field. You can't. During the whole spring training, they didn't do any shift on him. He's not a dead pull hitter. Same thing with Sanchez. He's not a dead pull hitter. That makes them even more dangerous because they could spray the field. Judge actually does the same thing. I saw Judge go off into each gap. He spreads it around.
Which makes it even more dangerous because, like you just said, it makes it more dangerous because here, let's just take a look at the 2 left-handed hitters. You think with 2 big power with 2 big power hitters like a Judge who's a right-handed hitter, with a Bird who's a big left-handed hitter, do you think they were just going to pull the ball all the time? But if they're going to start to spread the ball to all fields, that makes them incredibly dangerous at all times. And about Sanchez. Look, I don't expect Sanchez to hit the 20 home runs in 52 games the way he did last year. I think he'll come back down to earth a little bit, but this guy just has some raw power that can't be ignored. I know a lot of people want to say, well, he's going to come back down to earth, but what if he does put up a 30 home run season this year? I mean, that's not out of the realm of impossibility. It could happen.
I don't think it's out of the question because the kid's got a great eye. He doesn't strike out that much. Sanchez. He gets his bat on the ball. That's what's great about all of them. If Judge in the corner with the strikeout, can you imagine? Because Bird certainly doesn't strike out. Bird never struck out. Everybody said, oh, my God, he gets to that ball. It's the outside pitch. It's the inside pitch, whatever. He gets to it. Sanchez is the same way. If Judge ends up being the same way, you can't say, oh, we pitch them all this way because they're dead pull or hitter, either righty or lefty. They're not. They're spraying it around. So that's the plus here, you know. I mean, absolute plus. And guess what? These kids just don't hit. Sanchez, from his knees, threw out somebody. From his knees. He's been throwing out people all spring training like crazy. They're not running on him that much. All right, so the kid's got an arm behind the plate. He's accurate. Bird is very good. Judge can throw. So they're defensively and offensively good. They're all-around players. It's not just one-dimensional. And that's what makes the team scary and enjoyable to watch. I mean, I had a great time watching them. I mean, they were just, and they won the game. The other night, they got 9 runs in the first inning. I mean,
wow.
They
You just hope from the Yankee fan standpoint that they don't use that they didn't get all their hits now in spring training. You hope they're saving some of it for April here when we kick off in a couple of days.
I was listening to one game in Florida on the radio, and when I was at the pool, and John Sterling was going, don't, because Bird was just unconscious in this game, and he said, don't use it all up now. So he was thinking the same thing. Don't use it all up. Save it for the regular season, but. I think these kids, they have the mentality. They're bringing them up right. They're bringing up the Yankee way when they interview. If you listen to these kids' interviews, and like I said, there's other ones there. That Tyler Wade, he right down to the last day, they thought he was going to be on the roster with Torrieras to be the shortstop. That's how good he is. But also, that kid could play outfield. He could play.
Which kid is this? I'm sorry, I didn't hear him.
He could play outfield and shortstop, the Tyler Wade, this other kid that they had this year. He batted .357. He had 25 games. He had 42 at-bats. He scored 10 runs, got 15 hits, struck out 7 times, but let me say, how many home runs did he get? Where does it say? He didn't get any home runs. Here.
Tyler Wade.
Smaller.
He's a small kid. He's probably going to be in Double-A, but if he hit it says here that he didn't hit any home runs. He had 1 RBI, no home runs.
No, he didn't. Yeah, he's not a home run hitter.
No, 4 doubles, 19 total bases.
And he's excellent in the field, another good fielder. So it's not a one-dimensional kid.
No, I mean, look, sometimes you have to trade something to get something else. I mean, if you're going to have a guy who's going to be a good defensive player, and you certainly take that. If you're not going to get the home runs out of him, if you can be a good defensive player, you certainly take that, obviously. So
right. I
think right now, Karen, as far as this offense is concerned, this is an offense that's going to be very, very scary all season long. It's going to keep them in games. They're going to find themselves in a lot of battles this year. Unfortunately, a lot of 10-9 battles because I just don't trust the pitching, which I want to get to right now. But this offense has potential to be one of the top offenses in this league. The pitching, though, leaves a lot to be desired. Now, let me go over to just kind of overview. Masahiro Tanaka, obviously, is the ace of the staff. I just don't know if he can stay healthy for a full season. There's been too many times throughout his Yankee career where he's gotten injured, has missed time. When he has pitched, he's pitched well. CC at this point, I just don't know what you're going to get out of him at age, what is it, 37, 30? Feels like he's 50 years old. And you just don't know what you're going to get out of him now.
Well, remember, he came up when he was a kid at Cleveland. He came up, he was in the majors at 20. So he's been around. Mm-hmm.
So even though he's 37, it's more like a 40-year-old pitcher when you think about it.
Yeah.
So you don't know what you're going to get out of him. And then the inconsistency out of Pineda and Servino. Now, you mentioned just a little while ago, and I know we turned the corner back to the hitting, but there's a kid they're thinking about bringing up. I think they're going to bring him up is going to be Montgomery. Now he is one of their top down on the farm. So did you get a chance to see him? Go ahead.
Yeah, Montgomery is he's a lefty, which is great. And this is the thing with Montgomery. He's got a number of different pitches. And the other day when he was pitching, I saw it on TV, he didn't have his good stuff. Mm-hmm. He still got out. And that's what Girardi was saying. He didn't have his, it wasn't all working, but he still was getting out. He still was pitching. And I think he's like 23, 24. He went to college. So I don't know what, but he was the one at the very end that they thought that they were going to put him on the roster. I mean, that's how good he was. Here he is, Jordan Montgomery. He's 6'6", 225. He's born in 92, 24 years of age. He is. And he went to South Carolina, which we know is a hotbed for, baseball players coming out of there.
And basketball right now.
Yeah, really. So, his spring training stats, he came in 6 games. He pitched almost 20 innings. He struck out 17. So he almost struck out one guy an inning. He was 1-0 with a 3.20 ERA, and his WHIP was .97. But they said he was just it was just to watch him, and he's got the demeanor too of like, I've been here before, but maybe that's because he was in college. I think some of these college guys, when they come in, have a little more. They've been through a lot more than a kid like out of high school who comes right in and drafted at 17 and even though they've been in rookie ball and all that. The college kids, the competition and everything.
When you get a player, these guys from college, it's almost as if you're getting them out of single A. Basically, that's what it is. Basically, that's what college ball can be. It's kind of like single A in a lot of ways. So you have that. Right. You have that players have that experience already, so they have a little bit of an advantage, even though they're a little bit older than some of the younger guys down there.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, I don't know if they put him to. I don't know where they put him. Can you find it? I'm looking. I'm trying to see where he ended up now. Montgomery. I think they put him to Scranton.
I thought they were going to actually. I thought I read something somewhere today in the New York Post that he was going to be in the 5th starter spot, or that
they're still considering him. Yes, in other words, he's going down right now, and they'll see how well he does, and then they'll go from there when they have to decide on that last spot, because it's going to be either him or Mitchell. Remember Mitchell has been with the team for a while. Brian Mitchell might get that spot. They want to keep Warren in the pen. They're not going to. I guess that's what they decided finally, because he had a shot also at the starting roster spot. But here, let me go. Here's transactions. It'll be in here. Let's see what they did with him.
Right now, because as far as the 5th starter spot, folks, you listen to Michael Cohen along with Karen Vankat as we're previewing the Yankees for 2017. The 5th starter spot, again, is still up for grabs for the Yankees. Severino has locked up the number 4 spot. And, look, Luis Severino's had his own issues over the last few years. And I'm not a big fan. He is a guy who is still very young, 23 years old, but he has got to find a way to hone his skills and throw strikes. He had a pretty good spring training this year, went 3-0. With a 3.38 ERA. He pitched well. He struck out 20 in 18 2/3 innings. But you really want to see what he can do here in the regular season and just try to harness that talent and start to show it. That's what Severino needs to do this year after mediocre results. The results last year out of the pen and out of the rotation. So he's going to be your 4th starter. And now you got the 5th starter, Luis Cisa, Brian Mitchell, Chad Green, Adam Warren, and Jordan Montgomery. All 4 of those guys are battling for one spot. Now, Karen,
forget Sessa. They put him down at Scranton, and he hasn't really done well towards the end. There's a Ben Heller that did well. Another name you could throw in the mix, but they sent him right now to Scranton. Chad Green, he's been up and down. They had him in the pen. He's helped out a little. He could be in the mix. Mitchell is going to stay in the pen right now. You could take him out of the pen, but you have to lengthen him out. Do you know what I mean? For that 5th starter role. If you're going to put him in the pen to start, they always talk about lengthening, all right? Or he can only give you so many innings, and then you're going to have to bring somebody else in. So, but if Montgomery does well, they might just bring him up. I mean, let's say this, they keep saying, you know how they take their time with these prospects? He's a college kid, all right, who played college ball. He's now 23 years of age, going to be 24. Give him a shot,
Well, They could. I would agree to give him a shot, but I'm just taking a look at Brian Mitchell. He did start five spring training games, and including his last two appearances were starts: March 21st against Boston and March 26th against Tampa. He didn't go very long. Only went 4 innings in one start, 3 innings in another start. So maybe they are getting him ready to be that 5th starter. That's just my guess. Maybe that's what they want to do. He has made 5 starts already. Now, the fact that it's an open competition tells me that they aren't totally sold on having Mitchell in the rotation, that they would like to still have him in the bullpen as an option down there as well.
Yes, because he's a good long reliever. Between him and Warren, they can give you, if somebody falters, good 4 innings, out of the pen. Mm-hmm. Because, like you said, the starting rotation is suspect. Pineda's pitching tonight. The Yankees are on 7:30 on Yes. They're playing Atlanta. I guess this is the last game. And Pineda's pitching. I saw Pineda in person. Pineda had lights out stuff the first inning. Lights out, right? Now he gets into the second inning. Now he gets the 2 outs. Then he starts to crumble.
That's Michael Pineda.
I don't know if he heard me. I yelled from behind the dugout, like, get your head together. I mean, like, he said he gets distracted. He admitted that. Like, he loses focus. Focus. I was yelling, focus. I mean, what does it take? You've got to...
Are you out of your nuts? Come on!
I mean, how do you lose focus as a professional? I don't understand. And you know what? Girardi took him out. I think he only went. We thought he was hurt or something. He took him out because they had the pitch count up there. Like out of 30 pitches, he took him out of the game. And then I was texting somebody who's watching the game because it was on MLB. I'm like, did they say somebody's hurt? Is he hurt? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, what was that about? So some pissed Girardi off or whatever happened, and he took him out of the game. I mean, they eventually won the game anyway, but
that's Michael Pineda in a nutshell. But that's Michael Pineda in a nutshell. I mean, he never pitches consistently. He'll give you one start, which is great, or 1 inning in that case, as you saw the other day, earlier this month. 1 inning, that's great, and then the next he'll be terrible. And that's why you just can't rely on him. And Severino's kind of the same thing. I mean, that's the problem they have.
Exactly. Like Severino, too, he does a couple of innings good, and then all of a sudden he's like losing it. So they were saying when he came out of the bullpen, he's lights out because he just has to worry about a couple of innings at the most. But he's got too good of stuff to be in the bullpen. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's got to learn to pitch. And I don't know. They get frustrated. It's very frustrating to watch that.
Now, what about let's talk about the 2 veterans here, Tanaka and also Sabathia. Let's start with CC. Again, I just don't know what you're going to get from him this year. A couple of years have been a very, very rocky for CC for numerous reasons. He's had his own personal battles. He hasn't pitched well. He's had injuries, and his game obviously just isn't where it was 3 years ago. It wasn't where it was 4 years ago, for that matter, when he won 15 games in 2012. So I just don't know at this point, and I'm assuming that he's nearing the end of his career, what you can get out of him. If you can get 10 wins out of him this year, that might be a lot. Now, if you can get good performances out of Pineda and Severino and X, whoever X is going to be, Montgomery or whatever, in that 5th spot, all of a sudden a guy like CC becomes your 5th starter. But that's if the other guys step up and pitch well. So this is there's a little bit more pressure, not just on the other guys, but there's some pressure on CC going into this year.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. They said he's pitched better. I haven't seen him yet this spring, so I never got to see him, but they said he's pitching. In other words, you don't have the fastball anymore, and he was resistant to it. I don't know if that started the drinking, which ended up, where he was. It's funny, it started like, maybe he was doing it after he got injured, and then he's not confident in changing to a pitcher. Some guys can't transition to, you want to call him a junk pitcher, you know what I mean? That you don't have the fastball anymore, so now you got to come with the off speed. You got to do rotation. There's a lot of things you have to do to get it right. and he couldn't handle it. I think that's why he ended up drinking. That's my take. I don't know the man, but it just seems it all kind of snowballed for him, and maybe he couldn't handle that. My God, I'm coming to the end here. You know, I'm not the pitcher I used to be, and I'm not. Like I said, I can't get in his head. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was the reasoning. To be honest, because he was struggling mightily. I remember Steve when he first came to the Yankees, he was always smiling all the time. The last couple of years, and then when he finally admitted he was, he needed help. Every interview, he never smiled. I said, something's wrong with him. His demeanor was totally different, totally. Every interview, you look back at any interview prior to him saying that he needed help, the last couple of years, he never smiled. I said, where's that big smile of his? Like, it was missing, and, like, something was wrong. And who knows what was going on in his life. It could have been other things, but I think that had a lot to do with it. And he wasn't able to handle the transition. Now, he got through that with whatever the drinking, whatever happened, and they said he's confident in what he's doing, and he's looked good, his off-speed stuff, his location. So maybe he's turned the corner. But like you said, this is it for him. This is his last year of his contract. And like you said, if we get 10 wins out of him, that would be fine. You know, I wouldn't expect. You're not going to get 15 to 20.
No, not at all. And, 10 wins is pretty much
what. You hope for double digits.
Digits. 10, 11 wins is pretty much the ceiling for this guy right now. And, Tanaka's the last guy in this rotation. He's going to start on Sunday against Tampa Bay. Obviously, as the ace of this team, de facto ace of this team, you would expect a big year from him. But I don't know. To me, this is just my own personal feeling from seeing him from a distance, not being a Yankee fan. I don't know how you feel. I just feel he's been kind of slightly disappointing. Now, I know the numbers have been good, but he hasn't been exactly dominating. He's had his own injuries he's had to deal with. He's missed time here and there. I think in a lot of ways, this is a year where he has to kind of step up and really, really grab that hold of that top flight. The buck stops here with me. It's kind of ace starter for the Yankees. I don't know how you feel, but that's just the feeling I get with him.
Well, he's had a very good spring. I mean, He had 23 innings. He had 28 strikeouts. The teams are batting 115 against him. His ERA was .38. He was 3-1. I saw one game he was lights out for like 3 innings because they only let him go so many pitches, I think he looked really good, and he'll always give you, even if he doesn't have his best, he's a pitcher. So if he's missing something, he still guts it out, and you've seen that in regular season games where, he's missing, you hear the announcers say, doesn't quite have that slide or the slider or whatever, and he's still getting people out. And he's gotten through, and he's hanging in there, and he gives you an effort. That's what that Montgomery does. He's got that same mentality of giving you an effort, and that's what you need. You can't have where Severino and Pineda crumble. You can't as a starting pitcher.
I love the fact that Betances and Chapman back together again and bringing back Chapman on a contract. I still would like to see Betances get the closer role.
In there. We forgot about him because he was with that WBC nonsense. You got Tyler Clippard. You've got Adam Warren. You've got Betances and Chapman. That's a 4 nice end of the bullpen. 4 guys. Never mind the Mitchells and the Hellers and the Shreves and all those little added guys in there. But those 4, you can close a game out. With those guys.
I mean, you could, and that's what they I look at their bullpen and I look at the other bullpens in this division. Let's just jump to this because we're nearing the end of the end anyway. Because I look at this division, and I'm not totally sold on Toronto. I'm just not. I just don't like their pitching, and I was having this discussion with other bloggers, and they said, what do you think about Toronto? J.A. Happ 20 wins? He's going to do that again? I just don't see that.
No.
I just don't trust Toronto's pitching. The Red Sox, I like their starting rotation. I like, obviously, Chris Sale being there. Well, David Price, as long as it's not the playoffs, he's okay. But their bullpen is a concern. I mean, they lost so many guys in that bullpen, Tazawa and Uhara. I know they've tried to replace those two, but man, that when you lose two guys who are part of your back end to get to the closer, that's a bit of a concern. So I mean, if the Yankees ever got their pitching straightened out, to me they could be a favorite right up there in this division. Now, I don't know if they're going to win the division. I'm not saying they will, but they're going to be in the mix here.
Oh, they're going to make noise. The Yankees aren't going to end up in last place. You think they've got a lot of kids, but they're not going to be at the bottom of the. It's going to be either Baltimore or Tampa at the bottom. Somebody said that the Jays. I don't know. They said the same thing you did. That they don't think they think they're going to be worse than what people think. Everybody says Boston's supposed to win the division, but they said Boston's got issues too in the bullpen, like you said. And who knows what's going to happen? Their starting pitching isn't right now. Isn't Price hurt? He's out for a while. David Price.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
he is out.
You know, and to be perfectly honest, the Yankees always beat David Price when he was with Tampa. No matter where he was, the Yankees, when he was Detroit, I've never been scared of David Price. Everyone says, David Price went here, he's the lefty. The Yankees have always had his number. If you look at statistics, they always beat him or give him a run for his money. He does not beat them that often. And he's getting older. So he doesn't scare me as far as, playing against the Yankees. But what else do you got there?
Also, Drew, they put Drew Pomeranz, who used to be with the A's. He's in the rotation now. He's on the disabled list for Boston. So, I mean, I know it's very early in the season. It's only April. But to me, this division is pretty wide open. I would give the slight edge to Boston just to be uncreative for that matter. But I really think the Yankees have a chance to really compete for the wild card. I look at this division. I think it's wide open. I think they're going to make some noise, as you said. And I look around the league. I look around the entire American League. Outside of the state of Texas with both Houston and the Rangers, and outside Kansas City and Cleveland, who else is there in this American League?
Not a lot of teams.
I think it's a wide open league.
Absolutely. I think it's really wide open. And, again, as far as the Yankees are concerned, if Severino can turn the corner and become the starter, they know he can. If Tanaka stays healthy, Sabathia just does what he can do. And say one of these kids comes up, well, Severino's a kid, but suppose you put Montgomery, and he's a lefty, and he does his thing. Suppose he ends up being really good. Now you turn the corner somewhat with your front staff. You know the bullpen's going to be good. And if the hitting does what it's supposed to do, see, the Yankees going to be able to run, too. The Yankees ran a lot in spring training. Look at the speed you have. Gardner and Ellsbury, but they were, Gardner especially wasn't running in the past years, who can run. But you got Gardner, Ellsbury, Didi will steal you some bases, Castro will steal a base. Now, Torrieras is going to be in there right now, so he could steal a base for you. So they do have some speed, plus they have the power and the hitters. So they've got a combination of things. It's not just we're waiting for the home run,
No, I mean they can do. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say, as a Yankee fan, I am extremely excited. I am so glad they brought up these kids, and it's about time. And
you should be excited.
Maybe I'm very excited. And people said, "Oh, you're going to have growing pains." Who cares? Who cares? You're going to have growing pains. You're going to have a kid do something, whatever. But that's how they learn.
This is exactly what Yankee fans I've said this to other people as well. There's kind of like two different kind of Yankee factions of Yankee fans out there. There's the Yankee fans like yourself who wanted to see this change, wanted to see this coming of a new age, if you will, of new Yankee players, and then there are the Yankee fans who want them to spend millions of dollars every offseason. But that's just not how you win baseball games, and this is how you do it. And I can promise you, and I'm promising Yankee fans out there, that within, at the very least, if this team does not, let's say this team doesn't do much this year as far as getting to the playoffs. Let's say they win 84 games, miss the playoffs. I promise you, this team's is going to be a playoff team come 2018, certainly come 2019. It's worth the wait. It's worth the weight in gold to have these kids get this experience now, because I'm telling you, this team is going to be scary good in a couple of years. And if I'm
and
Joe
very
Girardi,
young.
I kind of feel sorry for myself because I could be managing somebody else's championship team right now.
Right. Well, Girardi, this is it, and his contract. They didn't give him an extension or nothing. So who knows what will happen with him? I think this is what he needs to do, get his nose out of the book.
Yeah.
And start using your gut a little bit when you manage. He's too much in the book, too much with his staff. You can't always do that. The lefty-righty BS, go. A couple of pitches, runs out there, changes the pitcher. He needs to let these people play. And let's see what happens. That's my advice to him.
So I would also just let him just kind of stay loose because sometimes he can get a little tight. If I were him with these kids, just stay loose, man. Just stay loose.
Yeah.
Let these kids learn. Let these kids make mistakes. And overall, just kind of let these kids just take over the clubhouse and recreate the clubhouse because that's the one thing they really need. It's just like a different atmosphere too.
Absolutely. And like you said earlier, I believe about a new core 4, it's there. It's there. I mean, there's possibilities. Maybe not. You might have more than a core 4. You might have a core 6 or something. I mean, all these kids, they came up together and they're lights out. Because everybody forgets, they talk about the core 4. But did we forget about Bernie Williams originally? Yeah. He was part of that. He was a big part of that, originally with Jeter and Mo and Pettit and Posada. And you had Bernie. Bernie was a homegrown Yankee. There was more than 4. I know towards the end, because after Bernie left, that's what everybody was keying on because everybody else was gone. And they were these are the 4 from the championships and now blah, blah, blah. And we got these free agents. Bernie Williams, everybody forgets about him. He was a 300 hitter. He was a huge switch hitter, remember? Switch hitter, good defensive player, gave you pop, could play. He played hard. He could steal bases. He did a lot of things well. So you might have more than a core 4 hanging around here now.
Yeah,
so we'll see what happens.
Might be a 5-5, of course 6. You never know. I'll say this though: if maybe they should have a Seinfeld reunion. Since if you remember the early Seinfeld episodes when George Costanza was doing working at the Yankees, he would have Jeter and Bernie Williams and I think he even had Pettit on the show. Pettit on the show too. I don't remember, but I remember Bernie and Jeter being on the show. Maybe they can get Judge and Sanchez.
It boded well for them because it really started things. But and there's a lot of kids that we don't know about as far as pitching that they could bring up yet that are right there. So, I mean, it's just exciting to watch. It's exciting. I get excited about this. I don't get excited about a big free agent signing. I never did. I mean, I know that one year we got Sabathia and Teixeira at the same time, and it was like, oh, okay. But you knew you're getting those people when they're going, If you give me if you gave me Mike Trout a couple of years ago, that's a different deal. But that's why they keep talking about Harper and all that. If these kids pan out and Frazier, bring him up, get rid of and he pans out, you don't need a Bryce Harper. You've got your own Bryce Harper with these kids. Homegrown Yankees, and that's what Yankee fans want. They love, remember Shane Spencer? When he came up for that short time, they called him the natural. He got all those home runs for a while. There was another kid, I forgot, tall, lanky thing. But, that's what the Yankee fans crave. They want to see their people come up and be good. And that's what we're waiting for, and now we're getting it. Fine.
And I think really from the New York standpoint, it's really the first time in certainly at least certainly 12 years for that matter, you can sit here and legitimately say that both teams are somewhat exciting here going into this year. I don't know if either team will make the playoffs this year. I don't know if either team makes the playoffs, how far they're going to go. But these two teams have a core of players that gives each team, each fan base, a chance and hope that they can do something special this year. And that's all you can ask for. And come August,
that's right.
Come August, when the Yankees and the Mets actually play between August the 14th and the 17th, for the first time since at least 2006, the Subway Series will have some meaning. Maybe will have some meaning. Which would be kind of
It'd be fun. Be a lot of fun. Can you imagine the Met pitchers against this lineup if if it does what it's supposed to do.
Hey, maybe Syndergaard will throw a bat at Sanchez and we can start a new rivalry.
You never know.
You never know.
What's going to happen?
God.
But it's exciting, and that's what spring training is all about. Everybody, even the crappiest teams out there, think they can win right now. Mm-hmm. Everybody thinks they got a chance.
Unless you're a Padres fan. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's true. Padres. Or Tampa Bay, they look horrible too. But I think, it's just exciting right now. I've been clamoring, I've been pushing this for years. When I was at Yankees 101, I covered the minors for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I used to write a lot of articles on the minor league kids. And I'm like, my God, give them a chance. Oh, they can't get a chance because you're paying $20 million to all these free agents who are clamoring up your roster. And what do? You're going to sit somebody who's making $20 million? That's the bottom line, that it came down to money. It shouldn't come down to money. Isn't it? Your priority is to win games. Mm-hmm. That's what your priority is. And it's like Judge, he beat out Hicks. I know you're paying Hicks and you want Hicks to be the guy. But if Judge is the kid and he's the one who comes through, well, then you play him because you want to win games. And if you do it with your home, oh, my God, as a Yankee fan, you're like ecstatic,
mm-hmm. I know. I don't want to say they're going to win the division, but man, they're going to make some noise. I'm telling you, they're going to make some noise. And I'm saying this as a Met fan. I'm a Met fan who's not supposed to I'm supposed to hate the Yankees, right? But no, I want to see how good this team can be. I think they have a chance to be really, really special.
And it's really exciting to see. And like I said, they're not going to be chumps. These Bird, Sanchez. I'm looking at a picture now, and they have the kid gloves, they call them, Bird, Sanchez, and Judge. They're not going to be pushovers at the plate either. And now we'll see what they can do.
Absolutely. You got to be ready to rock and roll. So we're ready to rock and roll. We're ready for baseball. Karen, I want to thank you so much for coming on. I look forward to talking to you throughout the course of this season, and certainly over the next couple of weeks. We'll live back at this, and we'll talk about where these teams are after a couple of weeks.
That would be great, Michael. I had a lot of fun. It's great. It's great talking to you again.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Folks, baseball is back. That's all I have to say. We'll talk to you Monday right here on the Open Mic program. Take care. Enjoy your games. They're coming up, and they're coming at you in a big weekend starting on Sunday. We'll talk to you next time, folks. Follow us on Twitter, at OpenMicNJ on Twitter. That's at OpenMicNJ on Twitter. Facebook.com/OpenMicProgram. And on YouTube, on the Sports Talk Nation on YouTube. Take care, everybody. We'll talk to you next time.